welcome everybody to our webinar on the Worldox Advanced Email Management Module. So what we're going to do here, we'll go through a couple of PowerPoint slides, and then I'm going to hand it over to our Senior Document Management Consultant for Worldox, which Bryce Phillips, who's going to take us on a tour of this new piece of the Worldox system. Before we start looking at all the bells and whistles, I'd just like to recap kind of what you guys should already know about working with email with the Worldox document management system. You know, primarily our legacy Outlook integrations with in dealing with our email involved using the mapping integration buttons that you see in Outlook. Most of you using Worldox are probably familiar with the copy or move buttons that you see along the ribbon in the top of Microsoft Outlook, highlighting an email message or multiple email messages and hitting either the copy or move button will invoke the mapping integration, allow you to copy or move an email across into Worldox. So that's a one click, and then a profile process gets that email into the Worldox system. We then had a much more fluid way of integrating emails into document management come with the advent of the quick profile Outlook folders, which you guys would have seen as the GX4 folders that would show up in the navigation panel on the left-hand side of Outlook, where you had the various client matter numbers or client matter descriptions showing up, and you could drag and drop an email into those folders. Earlier versions of Worldox GX4, you actually had to manually create those folders. Latter iterations coming into 2018, 2019, those folders would automatically be created based on the follow me favorites, which is the quick profiles that would show up based on matters you're working with most commonly. So that was a great way of expediting the process of getting emails into the Worldox system. There has always been, since the Worldox GX3 days, a tab inside the Worldox client itself called email. I don't see that many people using it, but that would of course give you the ability to flick within the Worldox client into a mappy view, which is essentially your Outlook view, and you could tag and move email messages into the Worldox document management system that way. And then finally, the other integration piece that we love about Worldox's mapping integration was a follow-up flag, so that when you copied or moved an email message into to Worldox, I should say just copied, you could actually set Worldox so that it would indicate that email message had already been copied, so you didn't try and copy it again, right? Behind all of this, there has been heuristics that Worldox has been trapping, where it's looking for the last time you copied an email from a given email address. It tracks which matter you saved that to. And then the next time you get an email from that person, it will prompt automatically filing to that given matter. So it's like a most recently used list, just prompting on what it knows an email address should be related to a matter. There's a secondary or more hidden integration there that looks at the heuristics on the actual email messages and compares it to any emails that are already in its database. And if it notes that an email message has already been copied or moved into the Worldox system, you try and copy it again, it will come up and tell you it's a duplicate. So that's another integration point that's been around with the legacy Worldox systems. But what we're going to be talking about today is the new Worldox Advanced Email Management Module. So that is a piece that comes with Worldox GX4, no additional purchase required. It is part of Worldox GX4's WDU15 release code. So that's basically release code from November and December of last year going forward. Once you have that latest code, there is actually an installation process of setting up and configuring the integration point with this advanced email management module. We'll touch a little bit on that towards the end of this webinar. I just want to highlight the 5 main features that you're going to look out for as Bryce takes us on a little tour of these. The first is that the automatic drop folders will continue to work the way you see them working right now, which means you drag and drop an email message into one of your quick profile folders, and it still processes across into Worldox. No need to change that. The integration process is kind of a back-end function now at the Exchange level that's invisible to the end user. We'll talk a little bit about that towards the end. The next thing I want you to really look out for, and this is probably the big draw to this feature, is the creation of linked folders into Worldox. So I could have a folder that already exists out there in my Microsoft Outlook navigation panel, and I could link it into Worldox so that anything that is in that folder or drag and drop going forward would automatically be processed into the Worldox system. There are also, you're going to look out for some folders. I should mention those folders will actually have a Worldox icon on them, so you can see which folders in Outlook are linked to Worldox. No second guessing on these anymore. And finally, the filing flag, which we used to see as a little flag that would show up if you copied or moved an email message to Worldox. Well, that flag now becomes a global indicator. So it will let you know if somebody else in your office has copied or moved an email message to Worldox. So that's a great enhancement there. And then finally, talking a bit about the back end process here, all the heavy lifting for this MAPI integration is done at the Exchange service level. So whether that be at your local Exchange service, or maybe using Office 365, in a hosted environment, all the heavy lifting, the copying of the email message into Worldox is happening at the back end, so it no longer works off the front end Outlook copy. So they're the 5 main points to work through. Somewhat cryptic without seeing an actual demonstration of it. So here to show us that is Bryce Phillips. Take it away, Bryce.
Awesome. Thanks, Greg. And hi, everybody, and thanks for being here with us. As Greg said, it was a little cryptic, kind of just hearing about it without being able to see it. And so what we're going to do now is go through the actual process and how you can benefit kind of day in the life of the advanced email agent. The main thing, just to kind of set the table here, that Greg was touching on is that this is now done at the Exchange level. What that offers us now is the ability to see other people's activity. So if I'm CC'd on an email that Greg saves into the system, all right, we're both on the email and he saves it. If I have this advanced email agent installed, it's going to show up green, and I'll show you the category selection here in just a minute in my system so that I can see Greg's already saved that. I don't have to go through the step of trying to save it and get denied saying, hey, it's already here, for me to understand or see that it's already been saved into the system. Another big piece of it being done at the Exchange level, as opposed to in the end user level, is these folders that we link, and I'm going to show you them here in just a minute. They follow us around. So if I'm on my cell phone or my tablet and I'm working away from the office, if I move an email into one of these drop folders from my phone, it's still going to be processed now because it's being done at the Exchange level rather than at the workstation end user level. So the advanced email agent gets installed. You are going to need somebody to install it. It is somewhat of a complex installation, and Greg will touch a little bit more on that at the end here. But basically what ends up happening is we get an email service that gets installed at the indexer or whatever machine we end up installing that on, and it just runs in the background. There's a lot more steps that go into that, but that's what basically runs in the background. And what that in turn is going to give us in Outlook is the ability to go in and take existing folders, or we can create new folders, and it's going to give us the ability to map them to locations within Worldox. So if I have an existing client folder structure in my Outlook, I can go in now and I can actually map that client matter to that folder to a client matter in Worldox, and this automatic email system is going to pick those up and either copy or move them, depending on how I've set up the folder, over to Worldox for me. So it's a radical change, in my opinion, one that I've really been waiting for and looking forward to. So I'm really excited about the advanced email agent. So as Greg was saying earlier, inside of your Outlook, you have your existing drop folders, and those are still going to behave the same way that they always have. I'll still see them here. Let me make corporate here. I'll still see my clients and matters, as you can see here on the left-hand side. And if I expand them, there's my matter folder. Drop folder is going to do the same thing they always have done. If I drag an email over to it, it's going to move that email into Worldox for me. And if I click on the actual drop folder itself, you'll see that it launches Worldox inside of Outlook. What the advanced email agent does, instead of this automatic creation that's kind of done on its own, is it allows me to go in and take existing folders. So here you can see these are just 2 new folders that I've created under my inbox. Again, you can right click, create a new folder. And what I can do now is I can select that folder, and under my Worldox ribbon here at the top, you'll see once the advanced email agent gets installed that you get new items available underneath here. And the 2 main ones are here on the right, link folder to Worldox and unlink folder to Worldox. So here with this folder, I can have it highlighted and I can click on link folder to Worldox, and it's going to come up with just a profile screen, which is not dissimilar from how we'd set up those old manual quick profile folders. So from here, I'm going to select my client, my matter. So I'm assigning my profile values to this folder, my author, my creator. And again, these are just whatever fields that you have. These are not fields that you're going to be forced to fill out. So what you see here may be different than what you have in yours. You're just going to fill out the profile. And then here at the bottom, when I go to create this, notice I have the option to select copy or move. One of the biggest drawbacks or biggest obstacles to using this in the past has been the fact that it was always a move. If I drag and drop an email over to my drop folders, it would move it out of Outlook and therefore not be available on my phone, my tablet, and generally for attorneys and paralegals, I don't recommend that. I typically recommend you copy unless there's some other underlying reason, exchange server space and whatnot, that you want to run with a 0 inbox or you want to move things off. So the fact that I can now choose to either copy or move for me is a game changer. On this one here, I'm going to use this as a copy and I'm going to hit OK. And now you'll notice the icon of my folder here changes to a green W. And that tells me, hey, this is linked to Worldox. So this folder here now, I've set it up as a copy and I've noted that in the folder name. Anything I now drag and drop inside of here is going to get copied over to Worldox. Now I'm going to do this real quick just so that you can see it processes, and it should process by the time we get through speaking. But I'm going to take an email. We'll take this one from Greg, and I'm just going to drag it into my demo test copy folder. And it's just going to sit there and I'm just going to let it do its thing. Now here's the one from Greg. And here you can see I've got my other folder. So we're just going to leave that here and we'll come back to it here in just a moment. Again, with my other folder, all I have to do is highlight it, hit link folder to Worldox, go in and profile the folder so that anything I drop in here is going to take on particular profile values. In this case, I'm going to do a move. So you can see it's a very simple process, and you can take existing folders and do that with those as well. And now what's going to happen is when I drag and drop my emails into those folders, the advanced email agent just runs in the background. Now it's not an instantaneous, as soon as I drop it there, it does its thing. It may take 5 minutes, 4 minutes, 10 minutes, depending on the size of your firm, how many email inboxes it has to go through and what it needs to do at the exchange level. But eventually what's going to happen is the email is going to be copied or moved over to Worldox. If it's a move, you'll see that it actually gets totally removed from the folder itself. So I'll drag a second one here over to this test move folder so that you can see that there's one in here. And once that move gets processed, it'll actually remove it from Outlook. But on the copies, you'll see that the email remains there, and you'll see that I have a green category flag here showing me that this has been saved to Worldox. This is that category flag I was talking about. If I was CC'd on an email that was sent to Greg and he saves it into the system, once the advanced email agent processes that, it'll actually pop this category flag into my Outlook as well, showing me that this has been saved to the system. So I'm going to have a visual cue telling me somebody's already saved this and I don't need to do that. This is something that you can change with the configuration files. The color doesn't have to be green. If for some reason you want to use a different color, that is something that can be done. But that again is going to show you or indicate that this has been moved over to or copied over to Worldox. And if we go into Worldox and we look at that particular matter, you'll see that it moves the email message over just like it would any other email message. And all of my profile values that I've assigned are right there on the email itself. So everything that I've assigned to that particular folder, when my email gets copied or moved over, is going to have that information assigned to it. Again, we'll just let this run here just for a few minutes, and you'll see that it's going to go from no indicator to a green indicator. Now, you don't always have to wait, if you will, for these drop folders to go in and process. You also have the ability to preempt that, or to go in and manually auto copy or move these emails over. Now here, looking at my inbox, you can see I just have my regular emails. Well, up here in my Worldox ribbon, there's some other new buttons up here. And for anybody that's gone through any of my training, when these first came out and we first started training on GX4, so don't worry about those buttons. They're programmed there for something that's going to release later. This is the later release. So these buttons are things that we're going to now be able to use. The first one we have here, this Change Outlook View. What this is going to do is it's going to show us any of the heuristic information that Worldox has on our existing emails that can be copied or moved over into the system here. So here I can see my cabinet information, Worldox folders, all the information really. It's telling me where this has been saved and then whatever heuristics information is here for. Now with these heuristics, if I have the information here, I have an auto profile and copy or an auto profile and move button now. And this will let me go in and select multiple emails and hit auto profile and copy or move, and it's going to either copy or move those emails over. So I don't have to wait just because I have the automatic or advanced email agent installed. I can still go in and manually push those out. And again, I can turn that view on and off by using my Change Outlook view. You also have the ability, if you need to update or clear out this heuristic information, to use our clear column and then update column information. What that does is it'll drop out or clear out the email heuristic information. You hit update column and it'll come through and it'll update any of that email heuristic information. So if there's new heuristics to apply to an email based on how other people are saving or information that it's now gleaned from emails that have been saved into the system, you'll see that it gets updated here and it allows you to do this auto profile copy or auto profile move. Again, when you click on those buttons, you can see here, it's telling me that there's no heuristics here. So this auto email copy or move is not going to work because I don't have any heuristics assigned. So in that case, I would use my copy or move button, just like I've always done, right? Copy or move still works like it always has, still lets me go in and profile my documents and move them one at a time. What these auto profile, copy, and move, on the other hand, do is anything that actually has profile values to it, or heuristic information. Let's take this one as an example. If I hit auto profile copy, if this was not already in the system, it would have moved that or copied that email over to the system based on the profile or heuristic information that's here. But because this email has already been saved, it's telling me that this email was skipped, and it's telling me here basically because it's already in the system. So that's the difference here. You have, again, the copy and move allows me to just go in from scratch and say, this is where I want to save. I want to either copy or move this email. The auto profile copy and move is more for emails that are there that already have heuristic information assigned to them. You can grab 10 or 15 at a time, and rather than waiting or having particular folders set up for those, you can just preempt that and move those over into the system.
Hey, Bryce.
Mm-hmm.
We do have a quick question. Is there an easy way to add comments with additional description if email is automatically moved or copied to Worldox?
No, you would need to go back in and edit the metadata of that. So the heuristic information, it's going to take whatever you've assigned initially to that folder. So whatever profile values are there on the folder that you've assigned, that's what it's going to take when you move, when you're using these folders. In that situation, you would end up going back in and you could hit edit metadata, and you could add if you needed to those individual ones at that time.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. That's a good question. All right, so that is a copy and move, CC'd, current drop folders. Greg, is there anything other here that you want to make sure that we point out? I know that this is not the longest demonstration in the world because it is kind of a a consistent product here. But that is basically what the drop folders and the heuristics are going to allow us to do now that we've not previously had. We can go in on our own and we can map existing or new folders that we create to Worldox and allow the system to go in and process these emails for us as it hits them and as it goes through and does those. Again, to point out,
I was going to say, this is in addition to the quick profile folders that you are already seeing in GX4, which sit down under your Worldox folder with you can see Bryce just highlighting them now. They're the legacy folders you guys are probably all working with now, and you can absolutely continue to use those. That's just been created as you save to various matters. This linking of existing or new folders into Worldox that Bryce is showing is the real #1 feature that we're hearing that people want. Other alternative document management systems have this same sort of function as well, and it allows your end users to work the way they would normally work in Outlook. A lot of people create silos of emails and client correspondence and what have you, and they organize that in Outlook by folders. They can still do that. However, we can ensure that their end product ends up in the Worldox system this way. And I just love the way that we see the Worldox logo indicating which folders are actually linked across into Worldox. And obviously, you can unlink a folder. If you no longer the case closes or whatever, and you want to delete it or whatever, you can get rid of it. You can see that you have that full functionality across that ribbon bar there with Worldox.
Yep, so here you can see that email that we drug over to my copy folder has been copied over into the system. And if I go into that particular matter now, you'll see that it's been added, and there we have it into the system. So that's how, again, it doesn't take forever. It's not something you have to wait hours and hours for it to be processed. When the advanced email agent runs against it and hits it, it'll copy or move it over to Worldox. And you can see here with that green indicator that it's done so.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you, Bryce. If we could just, I think at this point we'll talk about a little bit about what the magic is that happens at the back end here to make this work. So I mentioned that a prerequisite here for this advanced email management module to work is you have to be running Worldox WDU15 code, which, as I said, is really November or December Worldox code. So that for most firms, that's going to require you to run an update. Obviously, if you've got older versions of Worldox like GX3, you're going to have to run a full upgrade, which is a fairly large process in itself. But for most of us already on GX4, it's an update process, which obviously contains its own maintenance process as well. Once you're on that release, though, at that point, the system actually is a service agent that is run. You actually have to set up an exchange side service agent. That service account is created in your Exchange system. Most firms that we come across now are running Exchange Online Office 365, but if you're running older versions of Exchange, you can see there that we'll support Exchange 2013 or 2016. Either using CU17 or CU6 release or above. Both those legacy versions of Exchange have to have Exchange web services enabled on them. For everyone running Exchange Online Office 365, there's it's really just all the documentation is going to point you directly into the O365 console to configure it. Once you're in those consoles in either Exchange or Office 365, you set up a service account, and then you give that service account access to all the Exchange users that you want to use this process. You don't necessarily have to have everyone use this back-end process, but I couldn't imagine why you wouldn't. So that's a privilege granting function you would do in the Exchange system. Again, there's documentation on that. We actually help firms do this. This is the Achilles heel of the entire process, is that you have to configure the Exchange system at the back end, and it's not exactly a simple process. Affinity work with your IT team to give them the instructions and support them through the process. Once that's done, you then install a service agent. And Bryce had showed you the service agent at the beginning of the demonstration. It's just a service agent that's usually going to be running on the Worldox indexer. So you don't need a different server or anything like that. Service agent is basically connecting your on-prem Worldox system with your Exchange web service or Office 365 service account. So that will basically create the back-end MAPI connection between Worldox and Exchange. The front-end component that you're seeing is, where you see the ribbon values and things like that in the Outlook client. That is something that's installed on each workstation. It's an add-in to Outlook. It's an MSI, so it could be pushed out on a large firm. You could push it out to all your users at once using a silent installation. For smaller sites, you'll just run around and install that MSI at each workstation. Obviously, we're requiring Windows 7 or Windows 10. It is supporting 64-bit systems only. It does have a requirement for .NET 7 framework 4.7 or above to be installed on that workstation, which usually is not a problem. That's usually what most workstations are running anyway. And the supported versions of Outlook are Outlook 2013, the 32-bit version only, or versions older, more current than that, Outlook 2016, Office 365, 2019, can be 32-bit or 64-bit. So, basically any iterations, the more recent iterations of Outlook will be supported. So it's basically a two-part process. There's a central configuration that's done in Exchange, an installation on your indexer, and then each workstation gets this MSI that installs the ribbon inside Outlook. And then we topped off the little presentation here with a nice little graphic that just kind of shows you what's happening here. You'll see the database symbol there for Worldox on the right-hand side of this graphic. That is your on-premise Worldox system. And the Exchange side, or the hosted environment of Exchange or Office 365, is what's connecting all your clients, be it your Outlook Web Access client, your thick client running on your workstation, the one on your smartphone, or even the one that you fire up on your home computer if you need it. They're all being connected by the back-end Exchange process, so that as Bryce has said, you file an email into a folder on your phone. You can expect in real time that email to go from that linked folder into Worldox in the back end without the user ever setting foot in their office and firing up their thick Outlook client. So some great enhancements there for mobile users as well when it comes to working with email. So with that, I'll hand back to Karen.
Oh, great. We do have a couple of questions also. Just for you to start with, Greg, how long does it take to install and configure the new feature? And is Worldox down during the upgrade so users can't use it?
Yeah, great question. No, it does not require any downtime from your Worldox system. We actually do the configuration, work with your IT folks. That just happens during the business day. No outage whatsoever.
Great. And then two questions that might be Bryce's questions. The first one is, can you add a category when profile and linked and when profiling and linking folders to Worldox?
Pre-assigned category. No, I did not. I do not believe the category is assigning is there. When I filled out, you go in and you hit the link Worldox. The fields that you have available there are the fields that you're going to be able to assign to any emails that get dragged or dropped into that folder.
Yeah, so
okay,
it sounds
great.
like it'll be a more after the fact process again, just like commenting, you'd have to come in after the fact.
That sounds good. And except for things happening at the Exchange level, how is a linked folder different from a drop folder? Is it just the option of copy instead of move?
That and with your drop folders, those are automatically created. They're based on your favorite matters. So your activity in and out during the day, saving, opening, and whatnot of documents and different matters, those get automatically created into your favorite matters, which then translates over to your drop folders in Outlook. And then for the linked folders, you manually go in and say, I want this to go to this specific place. And the copy and move may seem small, but to me is a huge difference in the two, because those drop folders, while convenient that they get created on their own, they are only a move. They're not a copy. So you are getting rid of that email from your Outlook and putting it solely in Worldox when using the existing drop folders.
Yeah, that's a really good point there, Bryce. Just to highlight that these linked folders that you're creating, you can just copy the email message to Worldox. When you set them up, correct me if I'm wrong, Bryce, you get asked whether you wish to make this a copy or a remove type process, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's good for those people that want to have their cake and eat it too, right? They would just want to file an email message to Worldox, but they still want to keep that email message in Outlook so they can still keep working on it.
Great. Well, I really appreciate your time, guys. Thank you, Bryce, and thank you, Greg. What a great way to connect the systems we all use most. So great job. Thank you very much. And thanks to all of you for attending. If you were intrigued by today's presentation and want to learn more about Worldox, an advanced email management module, or any of the other amazing features that Worldox has to offer, or if you just have some lingering questions, I encourage you to take advantage of our free 30-minute consultation. This is your chance to speak with one of the Worldox experts at Affinity. Just reply to the follow-up email I'm about to send and I'll do the rest. And please join us again over the next few months. We're bringing you more about cloud strategies, the future of document management, and how DMS can protect you and your clients' data. And that's just the start of what we're bringing you in 2020. Just jump on to affinityconsulting.com/webinars to see all of our upcoming webinars. Watch for my follow-up email coming to you shortly with today's PowerPoint and recording. And please do share your feedback with us on the survey that follows. Hope to see you all again soon. Thanks, everyone.